When I first started cooking as a little girl, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make a good marinara. I figured, I'm Italian, I need to make a good red sauce. So today on this episode of Cook This, I'm gonna take my classic marinara and spice it up, so stick around. Hey guys, I'm Shereen. Today I'm making Linguine Arrabbiata, which just means angry in Italian. It's spicy. So I'm taking my classic marinara and gave it a little spice, but I wanted it to be a fresh spice. Instead of just red pepper flakes, I'm gonna add Fresno pepper. So it's gonna spice it up perfectly. All right, so to get started for our arrabbiata, first I already minced 6 garlic cloves. I diced 1 large onion, and now for the Fresno pepper. So this is your Fresno pepper. It's a red pepper. It's mature, so it has its full flavor. If you can't find a Fresno pepper, you could totally use a jalapeno. That'll work beautifully as well. So I always like to buy 2, and then just keep the second one on hand. Mince the first one, and we're gonna start sauteing our garlic and onion and our Fresno pepper, and then taste it. You know, peppers are so temperamental. Sometimes they're super hot, and sometimes they're really not hot at all. So we're gonna add a little bit as we go. First, starting with 1 pepper. So typically don't like to saute with olive oil, but I like the flavor of the olive oil in my marinara sauce. So a little bit of olive oil. We're not going to saute too long, so we'll keep that flavor and we won't break down the smoke point. Little onion. I have my Fresno pepper in there. I'm going to season with a little bit of salt and pepper just to release the moisture. So about 2-3 minutes until it's tender. Then I'm going to saute the garlic. So it seems like it's a lot of garlic, but once we saute, it gets nice and sweet and flavors the arrabbiata sauce perfectly. Garlic is nice and sauteed. You'll smell it, and then that's when you know it's time to deglaze with white wine. So I like to use white wine, so about 3/4 cup of Chardonnay. You want a good wine that you would actually pour in a glass and drink, nothing too expensive. So I like to use white wine, especially with the spice of the pepper, so it gives it a nice crisp, fruity flavor. If you used a red wine, it would really kick up that heat. So white is perfect. Now while our wine is deglazing, I have my San Marzano tomatoes. I also like to use crushed tomatoes as well, but for the San Marzanos, I like to pour them in a bowl and then with my hands just crush them up. That way they cook perfectly. So San Marzano are plum tomatoes from Italy, and they just really have a beautiful, distinct, sweet flavor. But I like the combination of a can of crushed tomatoes and the San Marzanos just to give me the right texture, the right body for this sauce. So I'm just gonna crush these up. Clearly wash my hands. See, your hands are your best tools in the kitchen. And then just take your can and you just wanna rinse it about 1/4 of the way. That way all that little bit of sauce that's in there doesn't go to waste. So our wine is deglazed, it's nice and concentrated. I'm gonna add that little bit of water, our crushed up San Marzanos, our crushed tomatoes. So to me, this is homemade. Yes, we are not actually using canned plum tomatoes. Although my girlfriend Chantel, her mom, does the plum tomatoes every year where she will jar them and can them. Oh, what a special treat that is. But for me, this is homemade. Hey, came from a can, but it's not from a jar. And we are flavoring it with our own flavor, our own spices, and it makes it so delicious, and it's really quick. This is easy enough that you don't have to use a jar. All right, I'm gonna bring this to a boil, reduce it to a simmer. I'm gonna add some dried basil, some parsley, salt and pepper, and then once it's simmering for about 30 minutes, it'll bring all the flavor together, and then halfway through, let's taste it. Let's make sure it's a true arrabbiata. It's nice and spicy, that's what we want. Feel like you should noticeably taste a little kick. It's very mild, so I'm gonna just mince a little bit of that second pepper and add it to our sauce, just a little bit. let's get to our pasta. So you want to salt your water vigorously. It almost should taste like the sea, so you have great flavor on your pasta. I'm gonna bring it to a boil, add the linguine. You could also use tagliatelle, very similar pasta shape. And my whole thing is I like my pasta cooked well done, because that way every single bit of that pasta can absorb the sauce and it makes it so much more flavorful. So I found if I just give it a little zhuzh, once it gets in there and starts cooking, they don't stick together. No oil needed, just salt. All right, our sauce is complete. Now you just want to use your handheld immersion blender. If you don't have a handheld, you can always use your blender. And then I'm just going to puree this until it's smooth. So that way all the onions, the garlic, the peppers, they just become one and really flavor this sauce. Pasta's ready. Now we're going to drain it. And then what I like to do is return it right back to the same hot pot, because we're going to have so much sauce left over. And I'm going to show you how to store it, because this is going to make dinner for another night as well. So right back in she goes. You can actually save a little bit of that pasta liquid if you want to thin your sauce. And then I need a ladle. Here it is. It escaped me a little bit. All right. So I'm going to add about half of this sauce, and then we're going to save the other half. I'm going to show you how to just freeze it. So there's clear quart-sized containers. Usually we get them from Chinese takeout. You can actually buy them in the grocery store as well. Just going to toss it. I'm going to let it sit in here for about 2 minutes. That way all those flavors can come together. And don't worry, you will not have mushy pasta. This is perfect pasta. This is the pasta that we know and love, right? Typically, we love pasta the next day. Why? Because it sits and soaks in the sauce and becomes so much more flavorful. So by cooking it well done, that's what you get. All right, it's time to eat. So, traditionally, arrabbiata is served with penne. I'm using linguine, don't sue me. In fact, my grandmother, she would call all pasta macaroni. So, any type of macaroni will work beautiful with this sauce. Fresh basil, extra sauce. So pretty. If you like a little Parmigiano Reggiano, you could do that right over the top. Just keep in mind, that cheese might diminish that heat a little bit. We want that arrabbiata to be nice and spicy. I hope you'll enjoy this dish with your family, and don't forget, you're gonna have plenty left over for another time to serve your family. So just stick this right in the freezer, label it and date it, and it will be great for a whole nother dinner for another time. For this recipe, go to the newspaper's website, or for more of my fresh and easy recipes, go to tweetneats.com. Enjoy.